Hi, Opti. How you doing?
What's up, Robin? I'm doing great, man. As I was just telling you, it's a little early right now, but the synapses are just starting to fire. I got enough caffeine in me to finally wake up. But yeah, man, it's good. It's good to see you. I forget when the last time we did this is a couple months ago, so I'm excited, man. I'm gonna, just let you lead the conversation. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like last time was actually, I think, still 2024, maybe like early 2025. Like it was like
Yeah, it was. It was.
half a
I
year
think it
ago.
was end of last year. I don't know. It doesn't seem too much. Maybe we're on like a 6 month cycle here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. But before we get started with all the topics, and I have a lot of interesting stuff that we can go through today, give the viewers and the listeners, for the few, like, I don't know, for the three people that might not know you, overview of who you are and especially why you're excited about Bitcoin.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks, Robin. But I think it's more than just three. Okay. Let's be a little humble here. But hey, what's up, guys? I'm Optimus Fields, co founder, co host of Simply Bitcoin, a daily news show. We have, one of the bigger YouTube Bitcoin only channels. We drop, I would say, arguably, the most and the best Bitcoin content on YouTube. We have all kinds of shows. We're kind of really known for our live show. Goes live Monday through Friday around 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then we got a bunch of content creators. We got a machine over here of a bunch of awesome, insane, and radical Bitcoiners just dropping all kinds of content. And so we're very focused on creating the best Bitcoin only media on YouTube. And of course, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, all that good stuff. And we're just trying to, get more people into the Bitcoin revolution. This is what it's all about, making sure that you go where people are. We do get a lot of pushback on why we are on YouTube because, this will probably be on YouTube, but like YouTube, you got to kind of play within the guidelines. But our kind of company motto, our thesis is you got to go where people are. And I know a lot of Bitcoiners love to kind of stay in their echo chamber, but our kind of company idea is go meet them where they are, go where they are, kind of talk to them in the language that they understand so that they can also become obsessed with Bitcoin. And, once you go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I fully believe there's no going back. And, Robin, the last part of that question is why I'm so obsessed with Bitcoin or why I'm even here as a Bitcoiner is because that happened to me. I remember in 2017, Bitcoin started pumping. I heard about it before then, but this one particular day I heard about Bitcoin like 3 or 4 times. I came home and I watched literally what I do now, but it was back then Andres Antonopoulos. I watched like an hour of his videos, just got hooked in his like algorithm. And I just never looked back. It's been what now, 8 years? Is it 8 years? Yeah, 8 years in Bitcoin. And pretty much everything else in my life has kind of just like fallen away. And it's just revolving around Bitcoin. Like all my friends are Bitcoin. I work in Bitcoin. My only money is Bitcoin. And, there's just a process where you kind of finally go down the rabbit hole and then you realize everything else just doesn't really have as much importance and impact in your life, and you become obsessed, and then your whole life starts to kind of shift and revolve around Bitcoin, and you basically get obsessed with stacking Bitcoin. I always joke that we're basically playing Hungry Hippo here, where, we're playing Pac-Man with Bitcoin. You're just trying to accumulate as much as possible, try to provide as much value to people as possible, because I really do believe, I really do believe in all the memes, fix the money, fix the world, like the peaceful revolution. And from my perspective, I'm a millennial. Every really big point in my life has been some kind of huge social event. I became an adult during the 2008 financial crisis. So my adulthood started with like, okay, I'm already broke, where's there to go from here? And then ever since then, every new event is like a pinnacle stop post in my life where you kind of just keep adjusting. And so as a millennial, you just kind of realize like we've been through, I don't even know how many now, like 4 or 5 cataclysmic moments in the world, and every new one we're just like built for this. We're just like, okay, whatever, shrug it off. But from that perspective, I do see a lot of my friends struggling. And, I really do care about my friends and family. And when I look out into the world, it just becomes very clear. Like a lot of people are struggling financially and they just don't know what the problem is. One of our big kind of thesis right now is there's so many people that can point out the problem, but very few people actually have a tangible solution to fix it. And it really starts with you, the individual. It starts with someone taking the action, taking that leap to try to understand what's going on. Again, I look at myself kind of like a true seeker, not in like a corny conspiracy theory, but like I try to wrap my mind around what is truth, what is reality, what is the true nature of this world. And that road led me to Bitcoin. I started to realize the kind of financial system, the economic system, a lot of it is kind of fugazi. A lot of it is fake. It's really just like pushing numbers to manipulate what you feel about the economy. And then you come from a Bitcoin's perspective, you revolve your whole worldview around Bitcoin, or as Bitcoiners like to say, you work from first principles and you look through the world through the Bitcoin lens and you realize, hey, man, like everything is either one broken or it's designed to work this way and we're just out of the club. So you can take which side of the coin you want there, but I really do believe Bitcoin is the solution. We need a better money. And this is why we've dedicated our lives over here at Simply Bitcoin to get more people to save in Bitcoin, to understand Bitcoin, to kind of understand the big picture economically, geopolitically, even on a domestic level, politically here in the US, like what is actually going on in the world. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. And that's what we constantly try to get our viewers to get on board with. Of course, we don't have all the information, but we're learning on the job as well. We're just looking through all of the world events through the Bitcoin lens and trying to really parse the information and figure out where we're going from here and what's the best way to position yourself. So it's good to be here, man.
Amazing. I love it, man. You bring more energy on 8:30 than I the whole day.
Well, it's a lot of caffeine. Okay, I have a secret weapon. Everyone jokes, it's like, dude, how do you get so geeked up, and how do you have so much positivity and optimism every day? I'm like, dude, I'm running on caffeine here. But really, it's just like, this is what we're obsessed with. Like when you have what we believe to be the solution of the world and you're trying to help people, like this is our passion. This is what we love. We, also, the number go up aspect is also cool, but like when you understand what's going on in the world, you kind of want to scream it at the root, like the mountaintops here. And you want everyone to learn. So you gotta bring some energy when you're on these live streams. No one wants to listen to anyone boring. And when I get ranting, I just get excited. And everyone's like, why are you yelling at me? Like, quiet down. I'm like, dude, I'm just excited here. Like we got some cool stuff to talk about. But yeah, we'll say caffeine.
Before we get started with all the Bitcoin topics, I saw in your X feed a lot of Nasdaq pictures, and I only barely kind of got to know like what are you guys doing, and I was like, oh shit, like you are really like leveling up. What are you guys doing there? And was it simply Bitcoin, or like was it a different thing, or like what's going on there?
Yeah, no. So it wasn't for Simply Bitcoin. One of our partners was ringing the closing bell at Nasdaq. It was their 4-year anniversary, and they invited us over there, and we did like an interview. I think we dropped a few of the interviews already. We're gonna kind of do like a behind the scenes vlog about it. And it was really surreal, man. It like the whole time, Nico and I, which is my co-host, if you don't know, or my partner, my co-founder, my founder here, we were like blown away. We're like, dude, we started a YouTube podcast and somehow we're at Nasdaq in suits now. Like, what is going on here? I know the Bitcoiners are some of my friends were trolling. It's like, oh, Nico and Opti are suit coiners now. Like Opti's a suit coiner, they sold out. And the whole time we were just like, I mean, we can't really show up to hoodies at the Nasdaq closing bell ceremony. Like we got to kind of, dress the part here. So we were like, yo, how are Bitcoiners on Wall Street? And then further, how are these guys that just talk about Bitcoin on YouTube on Wall Street right now doing an interview with a publicly traded mining company? Like it just, life's crazy, man. Never give up, like keep going. You can just do things apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it also speaks a little bit to the financialization of Bitcoin, and I'm
Yeah.
curious on what you're thinking also on that, because there is a lot of backlash on the treasury company side.
Yeah.
I don't get the full aspect of the backlash, because like there's like two sides to this. There's like the one side where there's companies that just want to convert the dollars into Bitcoin, which is like all we do as individuals, and legally companies are actually also just people, but that's a whole different thing again. Maybe they are more inclined of like having some beef with the fiat games that like strategy and all the others are playing, which I kind of like, because they are servicing money from bond market, fixed income, like equity, all those things that is locked. And I think Saylor gave a presentation where he kind of said like 97% of the capital is locked and cannot go directly in Bitcoin, and they're just servicing the pipes towards Bitcoin. What's kind of your take on the financialization and all those treasury companies and kind of the Bitcoin going into TradFi?
Yeah, well, my kind of like the initial kind of reaction I had is obviously like I think we were always meant to get to this point. Like if Bitcoin is really going to take over the world, then it was going to inevitably become financialized. Now, I know there is kind of this rumor right now kind of saying that the early libertarian cypherpunks, they're kind of becoming a little disillusioned with Bitcoin, and maybe they're going into like Bitcoin's being co-opted. But I truly believe that if Bitcoin is going to take over the world, this was the path that it was going to take eventually. Maybe it's happening a little early. I don't think that Bitcoin, that Bitcoin was going to, take over the world from purely a grassroots level. Like it wasn't just going to be individuals saving in Bitcoin. If we really are going to tap into these huge capital markets and Bitcoin become the world reserve currency, then just, logically think that through. It was going to eventually become financialized. Like I think this is the natural path of what it was going to do. And then obviously it is what's happening. So you do have to kind of wrap your head around what is actually happening. Is it good? Is it bad? Or rather, is there pros? Is there cons? And I think a lot of us Bitcoiners are doing that. Like we've said on our show, I'm sure, Robin, you've had kind of the same experience, that we kind of had to learn the traditional financial system after we learned about Bitcoin. So, but this is my story. I was kind of really apolitical. I, again, grew up, like became a man in 2018 or 2008, sorry, through the traditional financial crisis. So I just completely tuned it out for a long time. I was like, okay, this is way above my mental capacity here. And I think that's by design. They make it complex by design so that people don't think that they can understand what's going on. So I really, was just kind of working the day to day, trying to save in dollars, really just, as I always used to joke, like getting my kicks on Route 66, as the old motto is. It's like, okay, a little bit nihilistic, right? And then you find Bitcoin. And my story, again, is I just became obsessed with Bitcoin. I tried to understand what Bitcoin was. I did all of the deep dive technical stuff. I tried to understand what Bitcoin's place is in the global landscape. And this is kind of where I'm at now, is understanding where we are as Bitcoiners compared to the traditional financial system. There's a lot more outside of Bitcoin that we do have to understand to really understand its place in the system. And so recently I've been joking, like I'm somehow the macro expert now at Simply Bitcoin, because this is just what I'm focusing on. I see what Saylor's doing, and I really just want to understand what's going on with all his various different products. And like you said, one of the big things that stuck out to me is that exact quote: 97% of all of the world's capital is locked up. It's basically stuck in these pools and it can't find its way out. And so Saylor, again, rocket scientist, probably a genius, is like, all right, well, I'm going to just tailor these products. And that's how we can get the capital from these markets into Bitcoin. And then obviously he's like, I'm going to become the richest man in one of the most profitable companies in the world. And then further, the next step in my journey is what the Trump administration has done. So I'm not the biggest political advocate here. I'm really more of on the like cynical side of politics. So I think, you know, two wings of the same bird kind of idea. That's how I came into Bitcoin. I was apolitical. But now that we have the Trump administration, again, the United States, one of the most powerful countries in the world, starting to embrace Bitcoin, it's took me down a whole new path of trying to understand what's going on with the treasury markets and trying to understand what the chess moves that the Trump administration is doing to position themselves. And so that's what I'm starting to look at right now, like what's going on in the treasury markets, like not only in the US, but what's going on in the Japan treasury markets, what's going on in the British markets, in the EU markets, because that can tell you a lot about the health of the TradFi system. And then now that they're kind of picking sides, like the EU, I don't know if you saw this, Robin, but yesterday, yeah, I believe it was yesterday, you saw Christine Lagarde and I forget what her first name is, but van der Leyen, again, of the ECB. They're going super hard on CBDCs. They're like full, 100 miles per hour towards the CBDC. It's going to apparently be ready in October. And you can tell that that's a 100% reaction to what the US is doing by embracing Bitcoin, embracing stable coins. And so throughout this whole process, as a Bitcoin, quote unquote, maxi, as a Bitcoin only person, I am looking at what the US is doing by embracing Bitcoin or even digital assets, as they call it. I hate using the word digital assets because it's really just like a rebrand of crypto. And we all know it's Bitcoin, not crypto. But with that, they're embracing of stable coins. And then on the other side, the European Union's embracing of CBDCs. So there is a fork in the road right now. And as a Bitcoiner, I think you do have to understand what's going outside of just Bitcoin to really understand our place in the market, in the cultural zeitgeist. And so I don't think the financialization of Bitcoin is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's kind of a both and kind of scenario here. Like it may not be perfect right now, and who knows where this is going in 5-10 years. But I think this was the inevitable path. Like if we are going to become the world reserve currency, then Bitcoin will find its way on Wall Street. It will find its way into the treasury markets. It will tap into the, $1,000 trillion global capital that's available. And the smart people, smarter than me, are out there tailoring these products so that we can basically do the milkshake theory here and just start eating their lunch. Like all that capital will eventually flow into Bitcoin. Now, is it all good? I don't know. I am still a little weary of all of the regulatory clarity conversations that we're hearing. Again, I'm kind of suspicious of politicians in general. So inevitably, what are governments usually good at? It's like nothing. So I feel like there might be more harm than good here. But I think this is a great first step going into what we believe is going to become, the Bitcoin hyper Bitcoinized future that we're heading into. I really do believe Bitcoin is going to take over the world. I don't know what the time frame is here. It could be faster than we think. It could be, Robin and you or me and everyone at Simply Bitcoin. We might be doing this for the rest of our lives here. This might be a lifelong battle or lifelong struggle here. But I think it's happening in real time, and I think a lot of people in Bitcoin are cynical. I kind of always joke privately, like a lot of Bitcoiners have this like underdog mentality that once they start winning, they start like not liking the fact that they're not an underdog anymore, and so they become even more cynical. I think it's the opposite. Again, the moniker, the pseudonym that everyone knows me by, Optimus Fields. It's like you got to always play to win. You got to always be optimistic. Like we are winning, we're gonna win. Always look at the bright side of things. So we got to be winners here. It's not just about having a huge stack and you're getting richer. It's really about the mentality, and I think that's where we kind of are. There is kind of this. I hate to say that we're in a different era, but it does feel like we are in a different epoch in Bitcoin. And with that, we do have to adapt as Bitcoiners, as individuals. Like you constantly have to adapt to the future.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.